obvious that technology in the classroom is so important, and educators are realizing that students require a great deal of interaction to stimulate learning and comprehension. Now, although all children have a great deal of potential, students react differently when trying to retain information, especially when faced with learning disabilities. I'm here with Keith Guernsey, a fifth grade teacher at Alvarado Elementary School, New Haven, USD, in Union City, California, who faces this very same issue every single day. Hi, Keith. Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
I was wondering if you could start off by briefly explaining some of these different learning styles and backgrounds I mentioned earlier, and for the record, just how diverse is your classroom?
I have a very diverse class. They come from many different places, different countries, come from speaking different languages. They have many different learning styles. I have some very low students as well as some very gifted students. Students with learning disabilities. So it's a variety of students all combined into this one classroom.
So it's pretty safe to say that you have many different types of learners in your classroom, right?
Yes.
Now, from a teacher's point of view, because I'm sure this isn't just your classroom that this pertains to, how might this be challenging for you to teach on a daily basis?
Well, as a fifth grade teacher, I'm supposed to convey the same fifth grade lesson to all students, no matter what kind of level they're at. So I'm challenged by having to bring these low students and these high students, all these different students, all together in one lesson and help them understand the same concepts.
Now, just on a different note, I do know that you're currently using the AVerVision 150 document camera in your classroom, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Can you briefly explain how you received it?
We actually won this for our classroom through a contest sponsored by AVerMedia. We submitted a video of our classroom showing that we're having difficulties without something like a document camera. The difficulties we were having with an overhead projector and how the document camera would really help us in our classroom on a daily basis.
Well, congratulations on winning. I bet that's very exciting.
Thank you very much. It is.
And in a previous conversation, you and many other teachers have mentioned the term closing the gap numerous times. Can you explain what this term means and how your document camera has played such a big part in closing the gap?
Well, as I mentioned, there's a huge gap in my classroom. This gap between the very low students and the very high students. In one fifth grade classroom, my levels seem to be from second grade all the way up to about eighth grade. So it's a huge gap in their abilities. Because of that, it makes it really challenging for them all to understand or even to be engaged in the same lesson. So what's great about the document camera is I'm able to provide things very visually. They can all see what's happening. And this especially helps the lower students, the students with that are quite behind the other students. They're able to visually see what I'm presenting. So instead of me lecturing to them, and instead of them receiving the information, auditorily, they can see it and they can understand it right away. Therefore, the lower ones are keeping up with the rest of the class, and thereby the gap is being much smaller than it would have been without something visual like a document camera helping in the classroom.
Now, I'm sure that, like you said, there's a lot of benefits that you noticed, but really briefly, can you tell me some of the immediate benefits you noticed when you first started using the 150?
Well, immediately I noticed when we were correcting the math homework that usually I would say the answers out loud, and they would ask me again and again, "What did you say? What was the answer?" So instead, I would put the answer book right in front of the document camera, and I'd show them what the answers were, and immediately there were no more questions. I didn't have to repeat the answer again and again, and it was obviously because they were able to see the answer.
That's great. Now, being a fifth grade teacher, I know that you probably teach numerous different subjects every day. Can you just go into detail on maybe a few of the subjects and how you teach them daily?
I use the document camera for math daily, and what we've recently been studying is geometry, geometric figures, from flat figures to solid figures. I've been using some of these to help them understand the concept, the difference between a two-dimensional figure and a three-dimensional figure. So this object, it's a triangular prism. If you put it right on the desk in front of the document camera, from the top it looks like it's just a flat triangle. But I can use the document camera to show them from a different angle that it's actually a three-dimensional object. In this case, not a triangle, but a triangular prism. So I've been using it with these figures also. Here's a rectangular prism as well.
And you also do a game with your students to help them with their memory and whatnot too. Can you explain that?
Yeah, they really enjoy this game that we call What's Missing. So I like to use this whiteboard, draw a circle. Inside the What's Missing circle, I'll put a bunch of different objects, block, a mini flashlight, lead. I try to get about 5 or 6 objects. Then they see the objects that are in the circle. I'll hit the freeze button on the document camera and rearrange the objects, take away one object, then unfreeze the document camera, and then they have to try to remember what object is missing.
That sounds like a fun game.
It's very fun. They enjoy it. It's time to play What's Missing. I'm the first player. I'm going to freeze the picture. It's frozen. So you can't see my hand. You can't see my hand. It's frozen. Now I am going to take one thing away, mix it up, and take one thing away, and who can tell me what's missing? What's missing? Elijah. Good try. Okay, what's missing?
And finally, I do have one last question. It's probably the most important question to ask. Can you imagine going without your document camera for even one day?
No, I couldn't. I would have a real problem with that day.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Mr. Guernsey is one of the many teachers who has realized the importance of having a document camera in the classroom and can't imagine going even one day without it. Thanks so much, Keith, for taking the time out of your day to explain this important issue. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.